Hi, this is Chris again, and today we're going to talk about the analysis of the information you can get from inoculating your bacteria in what we call a SIM tube. SIM stands for Sulfide Indole Motility, and this is what would be one would refer to as a multi-test media, because with one inoculation you can get results on 3 different properties of your bacteria, whether it can produce hydrogen sulfide, whether it can produce indole, and whether it is motile, it can swim away from your inoculation stab. So what we should say is that this is a deep, and you would use an inoculating needle to inoculate this. You would not be using a loop in this case. So this is one of the examples where you actually use a needle. Inside the media is like a digested protein, peptone. There's some ferrous ammonium sulfate, animal tissue that's digested by enzyme, and sodium thiosulfate. And as also agar to thicken it, and it's a pH of 7.3. Now, the sodium thiosulfate and the ferrous ammonium sulfate is there to provide a substrate for production of hydrogen sulfide, and also cause a black pigment to precipitate out of solution. And so that'll tell you, oh, there's hydrogen sulfide present in that region. And so that's how you get the black pigment showing up, for example, in this case. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at close-up of what we see. So now we're going to go ahead and see what kind of information you can get out of inoculating a SIM media that looks like that to start with. So one phenotype you might see is whether or not the bacteria can swim away from the area where you inoculated. And we have an example here where the bacteria has no motility. It does not move away from the inoculation line. You can see that it only grows exactly where the wire went into the media, and there's no growth away from that particular inoculation. If something were motile, you would see this sort of behavior where you can see growth away from the area where the bacteria was inoculated, and so you can say, this bacteria is different from this bacteria here, in that the bacteria is motile. Another phenotype that you can look at is whether or not the bacteria can produce hydrogen sulfide. We mentioned that there are 2 components in this media that allow for the production of hydrogen sulfide. That is the sodium thiosulfate and the ferrous ammonium sulfate. And if hydrogen sulfide is produced, the hydrogen sulfide will come out of solution and give this black pigment. So in this case, because the black pigment is also away from the stab line, you say, oh, the bacteria is both motile and produces hydrogen sulfide. In either of these cases, neither of them produce hydrogen sulfide. You don't see any black pigment produced in those inoculations. And in order to do the test for the presence of indole, we'll have to go to the hood and do that. So we'll be right back. So the third phenotype that we're interested in getting from this media about our bacteria is whether the bacteria can produce indole from digestion of the amino acid tryptophan that's present in these the media. So we talked about casein digested peptone and animal tissue digested proteins being present in this media, so that would be a source of the tryptophan. Now, in order to find out whether indole is produced by degradation of tryptophan, we first have to extract it from the bacteria using chloroform. So what we would do is we would add 10 to 12 drops of chloroform on top of the media. And you normally would let that sit for 2 minutes. We've already added chloroform to this particular bacteria and let it sit for 2 minutes. So we're going to develop it to see whether there's any. And so you'll add 7 drops of Kovacs reagent. And if indole is present in the extract, in chloroform extract, you'll get the formation of this pink-red pigment right away. And so this is a very rapid color change that you can see within 15 seconds or so. And that tells you, yes, indole was produced by the digestion of the amino acids in this media, and so your bacteria has the ability to make indole. It turns out that this bacteria also can produce indole, and I can see that it also shows up very quickly. And so that's a positive result for indole production from a SIM tube. If it were a negative result, you'd get sort of a brownish green layer there instead of this bright red pink. And so that would be, a brown green layer would be an indication that it does not produce indole. Okay, thank you.